Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Ivan and today I am back with another tutorial. This time it's going to be a little different. I'm not doing Photoshop and there's going to be no crochet tutorials, which is some of the other tutorials that you've seen on our channel. This time I'm going to be talking about Discord and how you should and shouldn't run your personal Discord community. First thing we're going to start out with is we're going to go over here and create a new server. I'm sure the majority of you already know how to do this, but I'm just going to cover really quickly. So we're just going to name this 2K 3.0. We can add the icon, which will just be this Neki from my server's economy, and we'll say we're in Russia. Create, and now we have our server. I'm not sure why it adds me to the voice chat. Who am I going to be talking with when I'm the only person here? Disconnect from that. Okay, so to start out, what I want to discuss before I even discuss the server settings is you should think to yourself, how dedicated are you going to be to this community? Because anybody can create a Discord community. There are hundreds of gaming servers, hundreds of anime servers, hundreds of whatever servers. How are you gonna make yours different? How are you gonna stand out from all of these other ones? And do you think you can maintain this community for a year, 2 years, or even 10 years into the future? Now, while that's a long distance to look forward into, you should really consider how dedicated you're going to be. For example, 2K was started way back in February of 2018, and it's been about a year and a half since we started it. And in that time, I've seen 4 or 5 different anime communities shut down. And I'm just talking about communities that have 5,000 or more members. And generally, these communities lasted around a year. Some of them were older, but over time, the owner or owners were in college or they could no longer financially support the community. So they just shut the whole thing down completely. Now, I understand there may be some real life difficulties or things that get in the way of you managing your community, but you should also consider the members who have been sticking around and following you this entire time. So, before you even create anything, think to yourself, how dedicated are you going to be and how can you be different? Now that that's out the way, I'm going to get into the actual server settings. So we're going to go over here, server settings. Make sure you only hit at mentions because when a new server joins your community, they don't want to be bombarded with hundreds of pings. Only at messages, only at mentions. Save that. System messages, I would enable this, but only for when someone boosts the server. This is because the welcome messages, the ones from Discord aren't that great. I'd recommend using a bot such as Me6 or Tatsumaki for that. In Suke, what we use is our own custom bot, which is not available for the public. And it pops up this message right here. And it just little tidbits and information for new members to read over. But Me6 and Tatsumaki are a great bot to start with if you really want to have that feature within your server. And I think you actually should because other members can welcome them and they can get instantly invited into your community. Next thing I'll talk about is send a message when someone to boost a server. Boosting is a really neat feature that Discord added, and I'm really happy with it because you can add a splash screen without being a partner, and you can add that title image to your server. And it's a really neat way to add some customization and personality to your community. So I would enable this and I'd put it in a chat where people can easily see it because let's say someone sees that their friend boosted your server, then they're also going to be inclined to do that. And the more boosts you get, the more features you unlock. And that's only going to end up helping you in the future. AFK channels, I would set that up also so you don't have a bunch of people not talking in one of your chats. Moderation, I would only ever use medium because these two are a little overkill. If you're in the middle of a raid, somebody's raiding your server, you might want to enable this. If you don't have bots such as Dino, in place to prevent that. But in general, I would keep it at medium. Now, a quick talk about bots. You don't want to have too many bots in your server because it really takes away from the entire experience. Bots like Tatsumaki or any public bot in general, they can be brought to other servers, and there's nothing really keeping people in your server to use them. Now, if you had a custom bot with custom features, then yes, maybe or definitely you want to make it a central part of your community. But if a bot such as Tatsumaki or Nadeko is running your entire it's running your entire economy and your EXP system, you don't want them to be the dominant feature of your community because people can find those bots anywhere. Bots that I would recommend you have are Me6 for EXP and Dino for moderation because Dino can help stop raids by automatically kicking any user that's newer than 24 hours or has no profile picture, and those are the general types of bots you'd encounter. I also recommend that you scan all messages sent by all members and enable two-factor requirements just so you have some extra security for your server. For roles, there is a max of 250 that you can have for your community, and I would also make sure you don't add too many custom roles. While it may be tempting to reward people, the best way to do that is through giveaways or through currency in your economy. Because you have this 250 limit, you really want to use custom roles sparingly. Otherwise, you're going to quickly fill up your role list and you're going to be stuck with what to do. So I'm just going to show you a quick example of how that works in Suke. I'm going to go over to roles, and you can see the staff roles, bot roles, color roles, custom roles, and then roles like this, which kind of celebrate holidays or certain accomplishments within the community. For example, you see this 10K role, which we gave out to members for reaching 10K members. We have this New Year 2019 role, the Halloween 2018, and Blurple, which is Discord's birthday. That covers that. Emojis, make sure you add these. I'd be careful which ones you add. You don't want to steal emojis, but I understand that's also what you have to do to get some emojis in your server. Ideally, you'd have some custom emojis as well. For example, we have our custom Akiara emojis from our mascot and our bot. That's gonna cover that piece. Another thing I want to mention is you should really focus on the foundation of your community and not just its appearance. While it may be tempting to make a bunch of banners like this when you first start the community, what you should really be focused on is getting the general guidelines and the information all set up so your members know what to expect and how they should act within your community. And for staff, we have, for example, we have these different teams: event team, moderators. We also have the social media team, and each of these teams has a different guide for them to follow about guidelines for their team, what they have to do, etc. And it just helps them get a feel for the team and what their expectations are. One thing I really wanted to mention was, or I wanted to talk about, was partnerships. A mistake I see a lot of communities make is they'll form a partnership with another community. And while it may be very tempting to do so, it's honestly a huge mistake for you to do that. With Suke, I only partner with brands. I never even consider partnering with servers for the following reasons. Let's say a server with 150,000 members approaches you and says, hey, we're forming a network and we want you to join this network. There's going to be other servers there. It's going to be great. You'll have access to our custom bots. You'll be able to do all these things. Your members can join our special giveaways with great prizes. We'll add you to our channel, our partner channel, so all our members can find you. And while it may seem great at first, you have to consider a few factors. One, how likely is it that those members are going to check the partner channel? Even if you do one of those services with a large server where you pay them to do an everyone paying advertising your server, you're not going to get many joins for that. People are expecting to get thousands or tens of thousands of joins from these partnerships. The reality is, you're just going to lose members to this larger community. The only way that members from that community are really going to join yours is if there's a drastic change within that larger community. For example, if they're shutting down, or they post an announcement saying, hey guys, we're closing down our community, join this new server of ours, and we can continue what we're doing there. Then you're going to get all of those members coming over to your server. But in general, you see maybe 100 or a couple hundred at the very most people join, and that's a stretch. In general, I don't even see 50 members or 30 members join. As for the loss of members, if you add bots from their community to your server, you eventually become reliant on them, and your server will eventually just become absorbed. At the end of the day, you're not helping yourself. The other servers aren't being helped. The only server you're helping is the leader of this partnership or the larger community in the deal. Even if it's an equal partnership, two communities of the same server size, it's not going to do anything for either one of you. You're just wasting time and you're annoying your members with these pings. That's all that really comes down to. The only partnership deals that are going to be effective and helpful for you are deals with brands or outside organizations who can advertise you on their website or who can give you special items for giveaways, that sort of thing. One way to get your members to really engage with your community is to have events, have contests like this summer profile contest we just finished up, have giveaways, and then we're also doing boost giveaways for members who boost our server. They get access to this special channel where they can join in. And it's a great way for your members to really get engaged with what you're doing. And what we have set up for giveaways is not everyone can join because we don't want somebody joining the server just to join the giveaway. You have to reach the first, with the second rank level. We have our first level, which is automatically assigned to and join the server. You have to reach a second rank to even be able to participate in these giveaways, because we don't want some Bob joining the giveaway and they were actually talking and participating in our community. And you also want to think of other things you can do with your server that help us stand out. For example, we have this Aninspire blog where we kind of give tutorials and other helpful information regarding Japan and anime in general, because that's really what our community is focused on. And the last thing I really want to talk about is you should always have an active role in your community and you should always treat your staff well. If you don't have an active role in your community, your staff don't really have anyone to follow, and it's quickly going to fall apart as there's going to be conflicts within staff as people try to decide who's in charge, and it just becomes a huge mess. You always want to make sure you're actively helping plan new ideas for the community. You're always there encouraging, you're always there just hoping to run the show. You don't want to be nitpicking at everything. You want to make sure you have staff who can manage certain aspects of your community. For example, I have one staff member managing all of these Inspire blocks, and I have another staff member who manages our moderators and our staff team in general. Because if I was trying to do that all myself, it just wouldn't work out well. And I sort of let them have that be their own domain. That's their own part of Tsuke, and I don't interfere unless there's something terribly wrong with the way they're doing things, or there's something, a huge conflict that they need me to resolve. I like to keep things in a way that the staff team has, they do what they think is best, and I'll sort of lead them in that direction and step in when I have to. And you have to remember that your staff team are just volunteers. They aren't in any way obligated to help you. And while you may have to chastise them from time to time if they do something wrong, you don't want to treat them as if they're expendable or as if you treat a regular employee. You don't want to be ordering them around all the time, because majority of you are likely not paying your staff. So they're just volunteering their time to you as a hobby. So you want to remember that and appreciate what they're doing for you, because especially when you get to a larger community size, without them supporting you, you would almost have to shut your server down at that point, because you wouldn't be able to keep everything functioning by yourself, or you would have a very difficult time doing so. So that pretty much finishes up this tutorial. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just leave them down in the comments and I'll get to them. I wish I could make this more interesting with flashy transitions and etc., but no video editor, so kind of stuck with that. Hope you enjoyed. I'll try to make another one of these in the future. And yeah, bye.